Stand up.
Hello and welcome to today's episode of Stand Up. I've got the great Anya Kamenetz joining me. She writes the Golden Hour Substack. She's the author of 6 books, the former education correspondent at NPR, and frankly, one of the smartest people I know and get to talk to. So, of course, we had a great conversation and covered so many of the important issues that matter to you and your family and your community. As always, that's what I try to do here. I had a great time at the Hangout last night. And I was so happy to see so many of you, including Aaron the farmer, who hasn't joined us for, I want to say months. But he was there last night, and also he had a request if anybody wants to help him, give him guidance or advice. He has sold his farm in Washington. He's looking for something next to do, and we're going to continue to try to help each other. So join up on the Discord if you're a paid subscriber, and we will connect you with Aaron and others out there that can help and that can help you at some point. You see, what goes around comes around. All right. Well, I do not have a regular show for you today because it is my probably last day of moving. It's been a hectic week, as I told you it would be at the beginning of the week. So the show format has been all over the place. And today I have an interview with Anya, which I think is great, but no news or clip show. I was up late at the Hangout, and now last day I have to move. Also, we'll be live this morning at 9 a.m. with Dr. Christina Greer. So lots going on. I think you're going to love this conversation with Anya. I hope you'll subscribe to her Substack. Get all our books. Let's do it. Anya Kamenetz, The Golden Hour, one of my favorite writers and journalists, catching her in the midst of the beginning of summer, the beginning of camp, and you doing a million things, as always, including working on a new book that helps us, your 6th, feel less alone with everything that's happening in the world. The polycrisis, or as I just learned this new term, omni-shambles. It's so good that you fit me in. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I always love talking with you, Pete, and you've been doing a great job lately. The show's been great.
Really appreciate you listening. It's always great to have you here as a guest. I love following you, of course, on Substack, reading all your books, talking to you over the years about everything, including education and parenting. And I just want to ask you right off the start. I know that you publicly have said you dropped your child off at camp. That wasn't just something you told me because you couldn't talk to me the other day. But I want to ask you about camp. Did you go? Why does it matter?
Oh my gosh. I mean, there's so many ways to talk about this. I was a camper and a counselor at a Jewish camp in Mississippi, which was supported really strongly regionally by these family networks of Southern Jews who had ended up there after many different waves of migration starting in the 19th century. And it was just the warmest, loveliest experience of acceptance and, outdoor time. And I just really wanted to give that to my kids.
You grew up in the South, so
Yes.
it wasn't that shocking for you to be a Jewish person in the South, much less at a Jewish camp in the South. What is it about Jewish families in America or elsewhere and camp? My Jewish friends, when my kids were little, my Jewish friends would send their kids, who are around the same age, to camp, a couple of families. And I used to kind of poke them and make fun of them and say they were doing it wrong. Like, why would you have a kid and then send them away at the best part of the year when you can be hanging out with them and having fun with them and creating a bond and role modeling, all the things you do as a parent? You can get that. And we would have, they would just explain, well, what you might explain. What is that about? What do you think? Because then later on, I sent my daughters to camp. We sent our daughters to camp, and it changed their lives for the better. I should have said
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's so interesting to hear. I mean, first of all, obviously there's privilege in this conversation. And there's, all different kinds of ways to have an amazing summer. And I would never take that away from anyone. I think what it means for Jews, historically marginalized people, is to have an experience once in the year where you are in a majority and you feel like your culture is being affirmed. Your religion is being affirmed in a joyful way. So I think that that's really core for a lot of people that I know. So it really is about the world that's created within a camp. When it's well run, when it's well managed, when there's a great ideas that unite everyone, it can be really formative.
Yeah, certainly can be. And I'm glad that my ex-wife convinced the girls to go. And when they left, I cried, both of them.
Mhm.
But my older daughter absolutely attributes it to being the most transformative experience of
Hmm.
potentially her life, certainly that time in her life. She became a counselor later as well. And now
Yeah.
she's gallivanting around Europe with her French boyfriend and graduated from college and dominating the world. So good for her. Maybe it was camp. And the other parenting question I have is, because I'm now, quote, empty nest, and is there a better phrase? So can we come up with something better than that? I'm done using it. But because of that, I'm now dealing with all kinds of my own stuff, crises about my identity. How do I show up? Where do I show? Do I feel less guilt? We give your kids roots and wings. Mine have wings, but I didn't want them to leave that badly. But apparently, my question to you is, it's not about me. It's not about the parent. How do you convince parents that? Or do you agree with that?
Oh my gosh, Pete. Yes. Well, so first of all, Gretchen Rubin, I think, is writing about this stage of life, and she calls it the open door stage. So if you prefer that to empty nest,
Okay. All right. I like it.
I like it. It's like you don't know what's gonna happen next.
Blank
There's some
canvas.
Yeah, there's some freedom, but also the open door is like you're welcoming them back in when they
Oh,
can,
right. Sure.
you know? So, decentering yourself as a parent, woo, boy. I mean, this is a major identity time, like a shift, right? Becoming a parent and then this other new stage of it. I think the one thing that's served me throughout the stages I've gone to, and I haven't gotten to where you are, so this is just from my perspective, is really locking into and celebrating their progress in their lives, which they love and they're so excited about, and the more you can take pleasure in their happiness, which is really about, like, their journey, and it's not about you. That's what gets me out of myself because I never want my kid to think that I'm sad that they're getting older and more mature. That is awesome, and I'm so happy for them.
That's hard to do. And it's
Yeah.
so important to try to do. I like the phrase of decentering yourself. As the parent, I think a lot of parents of our generation, much less our parents' generation, didn't get that memo or didn't understand that that was even a concept that was worth pursuing if you want to be a kind of a virtuous parent. If you want to try to be a
Mhm.
good parent, in my opinion, it's create every opportunity you can for your kid to become their own person and independent and confident and love them as much as you can. But you can't be like, well, why aren't you calling me? Why don't you care about me? What about me? Why don't you come see me ever?
Mhm.
And all of those things, I think that we tend to do because of how much I did for you.
Yeah.
Pay me
Yeah.
back.
It's so profoundly asymmetric, and it just is, and then that is also true of our own parents, right? If you think about what they've done for you and where I mean, I'm in that sort of middle realm. I'm lucky my parents don't need that much direct caregiving yet, but I see my friends who are really
Yeah.
caught in between that
Yeah.
time, and gosh, it's just really about, like, focusing on what did that care and that love experience give to you as a person, and where is that gonna be found other places in your life?
Yeah, and there's plenty of places to find it, and that's what you have to convince yourself of, and then you got to go looking for them, and that's the journey that I'm certainly on. I'm digging everywhere. I'm trying all kinds of new stuff and identities. I
Like
might,
what?
oh, I might get a fedora.
Oh, cool. You're gonna be a fedora guy?
No, I bought a fedora because I was gonna be fedora guy. I wore it once in front at a party at the stand up community event with subscribers and
Yeah,
listeners, and
yeah.
my listeners did as they were trained to do, took the piss out of me. They're like, "Are you serious with that hat? What are you trying? Who are you trying to be?" I was like, "I rarely, well, I shouldn't say rarely.
Yeah,
I collapsed. I was like, nobody took it off. Put a baseball hat back on. I don't know. Maybe I'm gonna get a dog and a cat. Maybe I'm going to fall in love. Maybe I'm going to travel the world serving, or at least the country, in the poorest
yeah.
zip codes, trying to find purpose and do good things. Maybe I just want to save critters and creatures. I don't know, but I
That all
love
sounds great.
the idea that I can be in a spot where I can pursue it. Getting back to some of your latest publishing and what is happening in the world, obviously,
Yeah.
I just want to close that conversation in that. Did our parents miss us? Did your parents miss you when you went off to Yale and wherever the heck you?
Yeah, I think they did. Yeah. I remember my dad sitting on my dorm bed and crying.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, for sure, but also I had the gift of knowing that they loved their lives. They were very involved with their artistic communities and their friends,
yeah,
and I didn't ever feel like they were sitting at home waiting for me to call. Still
yeah,
don't. I mean, my parents, like, they go out so much more than me.
Yeah, my parents are really active too. It's unbelievable and
Yeah.
so lucky. Can I ask you just your quick hot take, just because of New York's elections, you being a New Yorker, and your thoughts on the current conversation about the future of the Democratic Party and how much this movement, youth-led movement of democratic socialism, is overtaking? Is it just New York? Is it everywhere? There's a lot of nuance here, and I think people are trying to make it very binary. You're this or you're that. This is what's going to happen. And if you don't outspokenly say Israel committed a genocide and these other few litmus test issues, then you aren't even welcome to the party. Maybe in certain places and certain districts, but what is your hot take on that today, that everybody seems to have one?
Oh, totally. So here's what I think a lot of the coverage is missing. It's 2 things. I was yelling back at the Daily this morning because they kept calling Mamdani a kingmaker, right? And they're like, "Oh, he ran these 3 people and he won." And I was like, "That is not what happened." Mamdani is part of a movement. He had 100,000 volunteers. He had an incredibly active grassroots movement, and those people turned out for the candidates that ran on his coattails. So Claire Valdez in New York 7, I live in New York 7. My door was personally knocked multiple times. By one time, Liza Featherstone, who's a great like journalist, a left-wing journalist, a UAW member, came to my door personally just because I was on her list. I was
Mm.
accosted by like neighbors. People texted me. They're flyering. They're door to door. Like they're on the phone. I was called multiple times. This is a tiny district, right? Uh, Grassroots matters, enthusiasm matters. And I started to see Reynoso had mailers and he had push polling, which is what you can get with money. But I had not a single person come to me with grassroots, authentic enthusiasm to say Reynoso's our guy. And so
Mm.
that is what this is about. It's about enthusiasm. And then what is on the other is it's about grassroots, real enthusiasm politics, retail politics, face to face. And the other side of that is, why do people get excited about a race like this? Because they think that the people that they're electing actually believe in something and want to make a change. That's what people want from the Democratic Party.
I think that's very well said, all of it. It's also about issues and personality, obviously, when it comes to the candidate. But
Sure.
I'm just struggling with this question, seeing a lot of the reactions, and you don't know what's in good faith and who is trying to position themselves as a moderate, independent commentator, much less elected or potential candidate,
Yeah.
or currently campaigning. It's interesting to watch that Senate race out in Michigan between, I think
Mhm.
it's Abdul El Sayed,
Al-Sayed. Al-Sayed,
Saeed
yeah.
and
Mhm.
McMorrow. What's her first name? And she, but I mean, like Melissa. Anyway, that's a really interesting campaign.
Yeah.
All these campaigns are very interesting to see how people are identifying, but I'm not sure what people are so scared of when they look at what, quote, democratic socialists stand for. If you go read, what do they believe in? All of it seems like you could even convince certain conservative Republicans to believe in it if you could convince them that government can function
Yeah.
for your public
Yeah.
interest. What do you think? Why are people scared?
So, I mean, I think that establishment Democrats are afraid of losing power, but I also think there's a fundamental misunderstanding of who are we trying to get? Are we trying to get the idea, and this is a belief, a mainstream belief, that you tack to the center to get more votes. But actually, the people who aren't voting or sitting on the sidelines are people that don't believe in politics because they think that politicians are untrustworthy
Mm.
and they're taking money from big interests and they're just lying. They're just giving focus grouped, you know, talking points. And when they see somebody come out and say things they really believe, even if you don't agree with everything they say, and Mamdani was really good at that. Like he would say, he would quote, I guess, like an old New York City politician. I think it was Ed Koch. He was like, if you agree with me on, 6 out of 10 things, then you should vote for me. If you agree with me in 10 out of 10 things, you should get your head examined. So, like, it's okay to have a difference, but
Sure.
if you know that someone's saying the truth and you can trust them, right? And then what Anne is saying in the chat, right? Like there is fear mongering around socialism, communism. This is fundamental to people. And I want to
Yep.
be clear as well. I mean, New York City has a lot of um, immigrants from countries where they have personal experience with socialists calling themselves socialist and communist governments from Latin America to Eastern Europe.
Yep.
And it is scary to them for real
Sure.
because of their actual lived experience, right? So we want to be conscious and aware of that. And we also want to talk about, what do we mean by socialist? Socialist, democratic socialist, right? elected, and we're there to get away from moneyed interest, to tax the rich, to have public services that matter for people, strong unions. This is what the planks actually say, and let's not get so distracted.
Awareness and a concern about the climate, and yeah, a lot of these things. When you take out the word socialist, and
Yeah,
those words mean nothing to me because someone who lived under communism or socialism, most ways it was practiced in this past century or generation, yeah, they didn't have a good time. But that doesn't mean the tenets of socialism that work in Western Europe really effectively, having a robust social safety net in places like Norway and other countries where they just say they're the happiest. You've written all about it. How do you
yeah,
measure happiness? I don't know, but they say they're the happiest. Why don't we just rename socialism like that, the happiness quotient of some sort? Because if you take that out, you
yeah,
explain, as you just started to, some of the ideas and tenets. It works for everybody except maybe the super wealthy who would never notice anyway.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's exactly right, and I think the democratic part of this is so important because, electing people who are responsive to the will of the people and who are listening to them,
Yeah,
that's what you need. That's what
yeah,
counteracts the things
yeah.
that people don't like about socialism, which is totalitarianism. It's not socialism, it's
It's
totalitarianism, which
also,
is what we have right now in America, right?
I mean, what are they? What's this word? Something authoritarianism,
Yeah, right, it's the
authoritarian
newfangled
fascism.
authoritarian drift,
It's
like
our
we're
own
on the
unique brand where the
Yes,
Supreme Court is powerful. But, the biggest criticism that Democrats, liberals, progressives have had about the Democratic Party is that it has become very corporatist. I would argue that most
yeah,
Democrats and probably most Republicans, but would love to overturn Citizens United, get the money out of politics so it wouldn't be there. But, that's a really hard thing to go back to, but that's the conversation. That's certainly the value. We don't want corporate driven interests, and we don't want other countries influencing our country's policies. And Israel is the one that certainly has gotten the most attention over the years, and
yeah.
certainly is a huge issue. Will that continue to be, as Chris Hayes said last night, probably like the Iraq War? Were you for it or against it for future Democrats, do you think?
It represents so many things and it's so complicated
Yeah,
because, it's different from the Iraq War because we didn't have 50 years of heavy involvement in Iraq's history before that war. I mean, there's a colonial history that is very complicated to get into, but the level and degree of involvement every step of the way in Israel's sovereignty and all of its decision making, it's just unparalleled. And the way that that has been identified with Democrats and also with Republicans. Now, it's important to remember, right, that the majority of Zionists in this country are Christian Zionists, and they come at it from a very different perspective,
right.
a messianic perspective.
Right. You're being
Um,
nice. I would take a cheaper shot about the rapture end of world beliefs that they seem to think they have an intersection and common interest in until they start getting snatched up by God.
it freaks me out as a Jewish person who grew up in the Bible Belt to have my fate tied up in any way with folks like that.
Yeah.
I don't think
Yes.
they're my friends.
Yeah.
Um, I'll just put it that way. But this split is a generational one. It is a very painful one for a lot of people. But the larger question about it's the larger question about our foreign policy interests and whether we want, I mean, APAC has been lumped together with crypto and AI funders, these big business donors that all seem to share this common MO of really trying to swamp elections and sway elections. And that's what people are reacting
Not that
against.
APAC, I heard that as like APAC was caught up with, they were saying that those other industries were somehow run by Jews. But you were saying APAC, along with other special interests that are extremely powerful, like AI and others, are all influencing campaigns. And people, mostly those who support democratic socialists, want people who pay attention to their interests and concerns, which has been watered down to this idea of, in cities like New York, affordability, which
Yeah.
is a pretty good damn message. I
Yes.
think it's fair to say.
Yes. I mean, being able to condemn the destruction and annihilation of Gaza in strong terms, I agree with Chris Hayes. That's a litmus test and a
Yeah,
moral test for a lot of people. For a lot of people, this is there's a Gaza generation that this was the awakening of their political consciousness. I
right.
mean, 2 of the people we just elected to the House in New York City, they cut their teeth politically in the encampments, in the Gaza Hamas, like, protests. And so that is, fascinating to me. I mean, we have a House member from Parkland, Maxwell Frost. Cori Bush was the House member from Ferguson. She got turned out of office by this kind of APAC
Yeah.
attack and other
Yeah.
people like that. And now we have 2 Gaza encampment House members. Like, that is a pipeline of leftist activism straight to National
Yes, that
Democratic politics.
generation that has gone through those crises of gun violence and the killing of unarmed black men by police officers and the rest are now the age that they are running for office, and they are winning, and those issues are coming to the forefront, and they're bringing all of their experiences with them. You said those three that were just elected. You're insinuating they don't? Do they not have a Republican opponent in the general?
I
They won.
apologize, you're right, I overspoke. These are primary campaigns in
Generally,
very,
they
very
win, and
in
the
very deep,
Democrat
deep blue
wins in
districts.
deep blue
Yeah,
districts. There's
yeah,
almost no doubt that they will be House members, which
yeah.
is arguably why Mamdani put so much of his own political capital into endorsing them. All right, before
Yes.
I let you go, I just want to ask you about AI. You've written
Mhm.
a new piece. You're covering this. I'm guessing this is part of your new book because it is one of the things that we're really most worried about, the poly crisis, the omnishambles, as you've just introduced to
Mhm.
your readers at the Golden Hour, which I'm a subscriber to. And if you're not subscribed to Anya's Substack, you're missing out on such a unique perspective. Close your eyes and cover your ears. I'm going to kiss your ass. It's so good. She's been so good for so long. She's working on her 6th book. How are those revisions going, by the way, Anya? And
Coming along.
in that, you're always talking about this idea: AI, the climate crisis, the threats to democracy around the world. We can name a few more: the nuclear weapons, things that
Yeah.
keep us up at night, gun violence, and so on. But you've got this great new piece at Substack about AI, which it's hard to encompass. What do you want to just summarize it so people will go read and subscribe?
I mean, it's called 13 Ways of Looking at AI, and it's really summing up the different worldviews and kind of worrying worldviews. I think many of us might be holding more than one at a time because people are using it, they're trying it, they're finding it useful in some ways, but they also really are afraid. Jeremy Ney, who I saw was on the live chat, posted this data the other day. Like, most people think, oh, I find it kind of useful, but then also I think it's a net negative for society. So that's a weird, uneasy shift and break. The thing I'm paying the most attention to right this minute in my communities is the groundswell of opposition to data centers and AI
Yeah.
in schools.
Yeah.
And for a whole bunch of different reasons, this is just like normie PTA moms are getting really heated about this. And I find that fascinating.
Yeah, well, I want to read your take on all of that, but for the next time, though, I do have to ask you one more. You did write about the great news about the worst possible scenario around the climate crisis likely
Yeah.
not happening, and how no one's kind of talking about that great news. And it's hard to talk about it because it still doesn't. We want to make sure that people don't realize that it doesn't mean it's not happening like rapidly and even quicker
No.
than many scientists predicted. It's just an important headline or a thing to mention, as you say,
Right, so
or cover.
the worst case scenario from about, like 10 years ago was basically retired, and this is the sort of uninhabitable Earth scenario, right? So, we are still headed for 3 degrees right now, and that is very scary. It's not necessarily survivable for a lot of people, so I don't wanna there's no sugarcoating where we're at, but it's really important to understand that both policies and technology and innovation have changed the trajectory of what is possible to happen in the future, which is why we should all keep pushing.
And if you think it's not happening, ask your French friends if you're
Oh
elite
my
enough.
god.
If you're elite enough to have any, and I am.
Mhm, mhm.
My daughter's in Italy right now, which is like 95 degrees. They're in a heat wave in Europe, and that's new. Their summers are getting so much hotter,
Yeah,
and a lot of those homes don't have air. There's always, I feel like older Europeans seem to like die in these heat waves in ways that other civilized countries don't, because they just don't have as much air conditioning. So I think
yeah.
you wrote something about that.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So, I mean, the climate crisis is here, it's right now, it's
Yeah.
not tomorrow, it's not next year, so yes, and yes, we can adapt and things like cooling, efforts in countries like France. Luckily, they have clean energy to pay for it. So this is the trade-off of where we are right now.
Yeah.
Clean, abundant, cheap energy. Bill McKibben just reported that Australia is gonna stop metering electricity for 3 hours a day.
Well, get me started on Australia and other
Yeah.
countries. But by the way, did you like all these, like the Daily and MS Now, like
Mhm.
Rachel Maddow? They have
Yeah.
out oil and gas sponsors every episode. That
Yeah,
bothers me a lot.
it bothers me a
You
lot.
hear
I
them,
know.
right? Like, you hear those
Yes.
ads. It's like,
Yeah, greenwashing, BS,
yeah,
completely false
yeah,
ideas and narratives. I mean, and editorial sounding. Yeah, I think it's terrible for them to do that.
yeah.
Only The Guardian has rejected fossil fuel sponsorship.
Well, that's a reason to support them and a reason to
Yeah.
support you because I wouldn't have known any of these things without you. The Golden Hour on Substack. If you're not subscribed, you do it now. Do it this second, whatever you're doing. It's like you feel like you got a workout after you read, or in this case, get to talk to Anya. A mental workout. I feel cleaner and smarter every time I talk to you and read you. Thank you, Anya, for joining me. And thank you, everybody, for joining live. We'll talk to you later. Bye.
Bye, Pete.
All right, bye, Anya. And there she goes. Go follow her on the Substack. Go subscribe. Get a paid subscription. Pay for her work if you can afford to. I appreciate all of those of you who do mine. And you can go watch my interview with Eric Siegel about the big gun case decided yesterday. Get really into the weeds with him. That's available on YouTube and Facebook right now. And I'll post it as part of the podcast, I think, on Monday, if not over the weekend. But that is what I've got for you this week. Again, thank you for your patience and support this week as my life is a bit scattered. Producing a daily podcast is hard. You got to dedicate a lot of time to it. So when things come up, it makes it a little harder to make it as comprehensive as I want to. But you guys have been amazing and supportive and understanding. And I cannot thank you enough for your support, friendship, trust, and all of the rest. Hope you have a great weekend. And I am looking forward to talking to you next week. I'll have some great guests, and we should be back on the regular format as I settle into my new old digs. Be well. I'll talk to you Monday. Bye-bye.
When the tyrants taunt you and the sirens tease, you better stand up, stand up. Let the brave meet the challenge, let the meek weak flee. Oh, you better stand up, stand up. When you're tired of begging, saying pretty please, that's the time you gotta finally get up off of your knees. When you can't see the forest for the burning trees, you got to stand up. Hey, you've been sitting so long, you got the creaky knees, you gotta stand up, stand up. I think your driving wheels been leaking grease, boy, you better stand up, stand up. Well, there's a whole lot more of us who know us right. They'll keep right on ignoring us if we keep sitting tight. You got to open up the window to let in some light. You gotta stand up. That's right. You got to rise up. You got to stand up. You got to stare the devil straight in the eye. We got to let him know it's his turn to go. See it clear when all you hear is a lie. So get up off of your butt, get down off of your fence. Even if it ain't a very friendly audience, well, they'll begin to listen when you start making sense and you stand up. Stand up. No need to point your rifle to defend your town. Just stand up. Stand up. You know they can't deny you what you're laying down. Oh, you better stand up. Stand up. Show your face of every color, yellow, black, red, and brown. Seize the place is inside. And listen well and it'll tell you not to run and hide. It says stand up